we go. All right, so thank you all again so much for coming today to the realm of dramatic possibilities. I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen with you and we will get started. So a lot of you already put up some excellent ideas here in terms of what a music teacher can possibly do in the world of public school musical theater. As I said, we're going to be talking about all of these and more. So for those of you who have not gotten to meet yet, my name is Gallagher-Steuver. My pronouns are she, her, and I have the pleasure of being the graduate advisor for CCM's OCMEA. So just a little bit of background on me. I love the theater. I started performing in community theater when I was about 12 years old. I got my undergraduate degree from Bowling Green in 2012 in vocal music education. After I graduated, I kind of did a whole conglomeration of things for a couple of years. I gave private lessons. I subbed in Cincinnati. I taught preschool music, which was an adventure. That's for another presentation. And then I kind of found my teaching home for the last 6 years in West Claremont Local School District. I started as an elementary music teacher for the first 2 years and then did middle school choir for my final 4 years before I came here. I also have been working at Cincinnati's Playhouse in the Park as a teaching artist, in which I get to lead classes and workshops, usually involving musical theater voice. And I've gotten to serve in leadership roles in public school drama as well as community theater since 2013. So this is the very condensed version of my theater leadership resume. As you can see, most of it says music director, directing music director. There's a choreographer thrown in there, which is fun for all. This barely scratches the surface. So I'm excited to really dig deep into all this stuff today. And the one important question I wanted to answer right off the bat was how I got started getting involved in public school musical theater. When I first got hired at West Claremont, one of my old friends from Show Choir Camps of America, he was working at the high school and he said, "Hey Jess, the woman who usually directs, she can't do it this year. You like theater, want to help me?" And I said, yes. And here we are. So just to kick us off, here's the last little bit of rehearsal for Madagascar Junior that I filmed at West Claremont about 2 days before COVID shut us down. So if seeing a bunch of 12-year-olds try to do a kick line does not get you excited and ready for this presentation, nothing will. This is after the stakes sing their whole little stake thing. Stakes you zhuzh back after you sing, so you can digest. And then everybody's just like in anticipation of Alex, when Alex is like, "I don't eat pie, I don't want steak, blah, blah, blah." During I want, we're doing our big arms. I want, and then touch the small people's backs, right leg first. Steak, that's me, full, knee, full, doo-doo, knee, full, knee, full. Point your toes, full, knee, full. Extra rare, only steak kick. Can say she ate no creme brulee or cherry pie can satisfy. We just legs down, satisfy. No, can satisfy. When I'm alone at night, and you go whatever your ooh is, ooh, and then steaks go off that way, servers go off this way. Ooh, flitter, flitter, flitter away. Yay! So unfortunately that show never got to see the light of day thanks to COVID, but we had a lot of fun in the process. So let's talk about the potential roles. The big one that I know a lot of you put in the post-it notes, and that was probably in the forefront of your mind, music director. But what does being a music director entail? There's a lot of little subcategories. You could be doing any and all of the above. Vocal coaching, conducting, being a pit musician, sound technician. Being a sound technician also involves a variety of possibilities here. So the main role that I've gotten to serve as a music director, which I feel as though most music teachers, regardless of your instrument, get thrown into, is vocal coaching. So we're going to talk about all of the, or really we're actually going to look at really closely at some vocal coaching pretty soon here. But also pay attention in your conducting classes here, because if you choose to do a live orchestral pit, you potentially could be the conductor. Um, you also could play in the pit. A really common thing is the pianist slash conductor conducting with their head, which is always an adventure. So I'm going to go into these in detail later. Just a couple pictures from, this is my first musical at West Claremont, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, with some of my fellow musical leaders. With Shrek the Musical at West Claremont, this was a fun situation. We actually got to use, in terms of musicians, we got to use a professional orchestra that had worked with West Claremont in the past from CMT, Cincinnati Music Theater. Their conductor was able to serve as the conductor of the pit, and I was able just to kind of sit in the front row and help with vocal cues. So that was just one of many possibilities for that. So again, we're going to take a really deep dive into music directing in a little bit. But I also want to point out some of the other possibilities, some of which you said. Directing, assistant directing, serving as a choreographer, stage manager, head of crew, lights, sound, tech, working with the props, building the set, helping out with hair, makeup, costumes, serving as the drama club advisor, maybe not even putting on a production, but just having these weekly dramatic meetings after school, having an on-stage cameo. What else? So everything on this list has been something that I have been asked to do through the, music director. You're an adult, you're helping out with the school, these have all been roles that I've gotten to serve. So we're going to go into these as well in more detail in a little bit. So before we get to that, though, let's take this deep dive into music directing. So one of the biggest questions that I feel like has kind of naturally come up while music directing is how you adapt your teaching to a variety of music learners. All of us that are studying music here, we are musicians. We are people who are going to be taking these conducting classes. We know how to read sheet music. That is not always going to be the case for theater productions. So it is a very different setting than the music classroom. And oftentimes the way that musical scores are set up is somewhat different. Oftentimes it's just written just in treble clef and then treble clef down the octave as opposed to treble bass clef. There's often really complicated harmonies, more complicated than what you would see in a lot of just SATB sheet music for choir. And I have made the mistake of wasting so much time trying to teach people who are not the traditional choral music learners, line by line, part by part. We are going to learn how to simplify. So let's set the stage. It is 2024. The rights for Hamilton have come out. You can license that. Your district is really excited to put on this American musical. So you get stuck doing not stuck. You get the privilege of doing Hamilton with a bunch of, let's say, 14 to 18-year-olds who are all over the gamut when it comes to very comfortable with reading sheet music to maybe they just got in the show for their wonderful dance skills and great personality. How do we help them out? Well, let's listen here a little bit. No, it's okay. I promise. I'm going to have y'all take a look at this sheet music. Thank you. As we listen to just the end here. All right. Was everybody able to hear that music? I can't see you if you said yes or no. I'm going to take silence as a yes, hopefully.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
So, let's take another look here. We want to simplify. Sorry, it does this every time. I promise you it's always okay. Let's take a look. We have the Hamilton and George Washington. Who is this? Yeah, Hamilton and Washington singing melody, harmony, women, with two different parts. Men, three different lines here. Stuff is going on. Take 10 seconds to do a quick observation here. How can we make this accessible and simple? If you have an idea, feel free to unmute and just shout it out.
Could
So
you break it up into individual parts?
we could do, are you talking parts like like individual roles, like Hamilton would sing this,
Kind. Yeah. I was thinking like for students to help it if they have trouble with like reading or lots of music, breaking up parts where there's like chords if they're not supposed to be playing it and they're supposed to be playing one line specifically or singing it, so it's easier for them to follow along the whole thing.
okay, okay, I think I see what you're saying. Good. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I would take out the alto is doubled by the bass, so I would just take that out, and maybe you have to adjust the last chord. And then any like tenor notes that are unnecessary, just take those babies out.
Take them out. Awesome. Yeah, simplify. Lin-Manuel Miranda is not going to come to your school and scold you in front of the group if you do not have every single note of harmony that he has written. So yes, let's take a look a little bit earlier here. Washington has just sang, and I'm just saying it. I'm just saying everything that the Hamilton and Washington are singing. I'm going to sing it up the octave in my octave. In general, something that I've noticed is if I attempt to sing down the octave, a modal voice, bass voice will traditionally attempt to go even one more octave down, even if I went them up on perfect pitch with me. So rather than, but remember from here on in, nope, just sing it up in my octave. But remember from here on in, history. Look at that. That is the same note that Washington sings. That is the same note that the men are singing down here. Now hold on a second. The men, Washington, Hamilton, they have these words. The women just have these nice little. But what if you are in the situation that a lot of high school theater programs are in, where the women outnumber the men? What is the most important part of the song here? The woes or the words?
Word.
Thank you, the words. So, again, Lin-Manuel Miranda is not going to get mad at you if you change things a little bit. My suggestion would be high voices, low voices. Don't worry about SATB. Think ladies, if you can sing high, treble voices, if you can sing high, modal voices, if you're more comfortable up in the traditionally tenor area, take the higher part. If you are more of an alto, more of a low voiced human like myself, or if you're like a lower bass voice, take the low part. Just two parts. So let's ignore the woes for a second. So we just had, but remember from here on in, low voices, history has its eyes on you. I can't see you, but I know you can see each other. Raise your hand if you identify as more of a low-voiced human in whatever staff you... Oh, you can raise your... You show me the little hand raise icon. I love that. Thank you. Raise your hand if you identify more as a high-voiced person. So, low voices, using this pivot note here from, but remember from here on in, history has its eyes on you. Then we get to relax. History has its eyes on you. We didn't even get to that part yet, but look at the note that you would sing. The G, it's the end of the woes. It is the same note that you started on over here. It is something that is in familiar territory. So high-voiced folks, you would double up with Hamilton, either down in his low octave. So if we have this, but remember from here on in, history has its eyes on you. And that's the note that we start on for history here. History has its eyes on in a rehearsal scenario, you could just run high part, low part, rather than taking up so much time to try to make sure that every flat, sixth, ninth, whatever is in place. But you still can do that. But start with a foundation. So let's not forget about the woes, though. What happens earlier on in the show, musically speaking? A lot of things. Don't answer that. That was a rhetorical. The woes happen a lot. This is a reoccurring musical theme that happens throughout the show. Let's pretend, I don't know for sure, but let's pretend, who sings the woes later on in the show or earlier in the show? Maybe Angelica and Eliza. Perfect. Stick them on the woes. So they can sing. Wah, 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 wah. If they're having fun and they want to do the harmony, cool. If not, don't worry about it. So we have our woes. We have high voices and low voices in 2 different octaves each. Now let's look at this chord at the end. This ending of the song, for the rest of the time here, we have accompaniment covering any harmonic notes that we might not hit. However, at the end, it is a cappella. So if we were interested in having just a little bit of that, B flat 6-9 awesomeness there, look at just these last 2 measures for a second. What is a super easy little tweak that we can do to suddenly make that harmony a lot more exciting? Like if you were to ask one group of students potentially to make one little change, that it would be easy for them.
I would ask the altos.
To do what?
Oh, are you talking about the last chord?
Yes.
I would just ask them because their notes are close. I know that can be hard for people, but in terms of like moving, I feel like it's easier. And so that's who I would ask.
For sure. What note would you move them to?
I would put altos on tenor notes because there's more of them and because they're usually more confident. And so I don't have like a specific note for you, but I would move them down.
Nice. In general, and again, I'm kind of like, right now we are so simplified. I'm not even thinking soprano, alto, tenor, bass, anything. I'm just thinking that high harmony, eyes on you. Lower harmony, eyes on you. And then in the 2 different octaves. What I was thinking, I'm sorry, I always expect people to read my mind, but you are not far off at all. And I think that if I was looking down here, like what is written as like the tenor, the highest tenor part down here, that is very accessible for altos. Now what I'm looking at is going between this chord and this chord. Right now we just have eyes on you, ending on that C. By the way, if you have perfect pitch, I don't. So when we have eyes on you, we're on the C here. Eyes on you on the G here. We want that B flat in there somewhere. Look at that. Rather than maybe having, all of the women, or maybe just, take Angelica and Eliza, who are already kind of in their own little whoa, whoa, whoa world. Look at her. History has its eyes on you. Just hold on to that B flat for dear life. And suddenly, this really crunchy, awesome 3-part chord. So this is just one example of one song, but the overall point that I want you to take away from this is how can we make this accessible to all different kinds of music learners? Like I already said, simplify. Oftentimes parts will be doubled and written out and they just look so unnecessarily messy. One thing that if you are learning about Sibelius, Finale, Noteflight, any kind of music notation software, save that in your brain. For students who are very visual learners, it could even help for you to just rescore their part, essentially, if you need to. Or just get a highlighter, have them do it that way. Also, one of the biggest things I'm a fan of for choir, show choir, musical theater, all the things, record practice tracks. Because again, not all students, especially some of these students that maybe don't have a background in band or choir, who cannot read music, they're going to be the oral learners. So record practice tracks for them, and you should be able to cover all of your bases in that way. So, oh, and I said notice what musical themes repeat throughout show. That is in reference to think about if any other characters have to sing that musical theme before a particular song or later on in the show. Even if their character is not supposed to be singing that particular harmony right then, figure out where you can simplify. So, you saw the list before, there's a lot of different possibilities of what you could be asked to do outside of music directing and vocal coaching. And self-care is important. So we need to ask ourselves some really important questions. What is my skill set, musical and otherwise? Can you dance? Can you paint? Can you lift heavy objects and help build set? Are you really good at makeup and you could help, monitor the, 50 folks in the makeup room and making sure they all look unified and good? Just really explore kind of creatively what you could possibly offer. How much time are you willing to commit? I don't know about you, but I'm one of those people, like, I say yes to everything. And it has come back to haunt me sometimes. Figure out if you are not the person that is in charge of the entire musical production, ask that person, okay, if you'd like me to do X, Y, and Z, what does the time commitment look like for that? And be honest with yourself if you are willing and able to commit to it. There's a lot of variety in terms of low commitment versus high commitment jobs within the realm of musical theater. What are you willing to do to help? Maybe you love to dance and you're a great dancer, but you just cannot imagine yourself serving as a choreographer for Hamilton the Musical or anything else. Figure out what of your skills lines up with what you're actually willing to do to help within that time frame. This is a huge one. Who can help me? Again, I'm one of those people that I do not like to ask for help. It is a skill that I've had to learn. And it is really hard to attempt to do everything yourself. There are a ton of people who can help you. Whether you are the leader and director and producer and all the things of the musical program, or if you just kind of got pulled into it. So let's talk staff throughout the district. Again, I first got pulled into the drama program in my district because I had a friend who worked at the high school, and he asked me, the elementary music teacher, if I wanted to help out. And then by the end of the year, I was one of the head people in charge of the high school drama program. Ask around, if you're brand new in the district, ask the administration who has been involved with the drama program in the past, either people that are still in the district or maybe people that have moved on but have left their contact information. Also, in general, teachers I found have been really, really willing to jump in and help, especially, those teachers that maybe they really loved drama in high school, but then, life took them on the math education track, and now they haven't gotten to dance and sing in forever. If you ask that teacher, or even just send out like a mass email, like, hey, do you miss getting to explore your creative side? I could really use some help. This past year, when I was doing Madagascar at the middle school level, I did not have any time in my schedule, and they asked me to take over the entire middle school drama program. Which I had not done previously, and I had 0 time in my schedule. And then they came back a month later like, Jess, nobody will do it. If somebody does not do it, this will cease to exist. So I was like, all right, I don't want that to happen, but I cannot do this myself. So I sent out a mass email, just blatantly saying, hey, I want to do this. I do not want this program to die. I need help. And I got 5 teachers. Math teacher who used to be a dancer, special education teacher who loves doing arts and crafts and really wanted to get her children involved helping, art teacher, English teacher, another English teacher. And I had a team. You just have to ask for it. Parents are also going to be your best friends. Um, in the past, before a student even auditions, they have to pick up a permission slip that states, all of the basics, but includes parents are asked to provide at least 1 hour of their time volunteering in some way. They can serve as set builders, tickets, programs, ushers, just extra eyes. Because depending on the size of your production, the more adults in the room to kind of keep the peace, the better. Also, the PTA or PTO of the school, at least in my case, was a huge, huge help. I thought that our budget was essentially $0. And then the administrator said, talk to the PTA. I feel like they've helped in the past. And they paid for the entire, all the licensing fees, everything. Again, you just have to ask. And if you don't know who to ask somebody who to ask. Also, the students. The students are always so willing to get involved and help. In fact, I was very pleasantly surprised with how many students wanted to help backstage rather than on stage. And you are able to delegate to these students and parents and teachers whatever you need. Students can be student stage manager, working on crew, a tech head. The high school theater program now, they have the current high school drama director. She trained a bunch of her students kind of throughout the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior years to be a couple of designated kind of kings and queens of tech. And then anytime a new class comes in, they are able to take and train. The students in general, they want to help. They want to be leaders. So just kind of putting the word out there. Also, just looking at the individual classes, figuring out where you can really get a full school involvement in this. Woodshop, chorus, art class, help paint the sets, dance class, orchestra, band for your pit. Cheer, I mean, if we're doing, I would hope you wouldn't do Bring It On the musical in a high school, but like you could get cheerleaders involved somehow. Anything that I think helps create an even bigger sense of community and branches out more. So it's not just, the drama program, but no, this is our school's theater department. Also, of course, if you have any friends who happen to be amazing at all things electronic, get them to help you out with sound. If you have friends who own a truck and are very, very strong, get them to help you with building the scenery. Just brainstorm, get creative, and delegate. So there is a lot here. It is okay to say no, but it is really, really fun to say yes, as long as you keep that element of self-care in mind. So some common questions that I've heard in the past and have thought myself. The big one, I've never done this before. How do I get started? Ask questions. Ask all the questions, specifically to administration and folks who have done this before. Even students, if you're coming into a brand new position, the old drama director retired, just ask. What are past practices? Who do I talk to about fees? How do I start this? Just ask. Now, this included in the resource list, MTI, Music Theater International, is your best friend. They are the kind of head honchos of where to license and get everything you need to put on a show. Just if you Google MTI, I have the link later on in this presentation as well. When you license a show from them, they send you just the best box of resources, all of the scripts, practice tracks, just accompaniment tracks that already exist, full orchestral tracks, a binder that is literally like, if you have never directed a musical before, Music Directing 101, it is giant and so informative. And even as somebody who, before I used my first MTI binder, when I was looking through it, I was getting so many new ideas, and it just helps keep you organized. MTI and their giant binder of awesomeness. How do I run auditions? So I'm thinking in the world pre and post COVID here in general. When I do auditions, I like to have an in-person 2-day process. That first day I consider to be more of a workshop. I don't know about y'all. I do not like auditions. I get very easily stressed out, just having to like, okay, learn this and regurgitate it right now, particularly, if you have to learn a new song or a new dance right then and there. So, oh, pause, rewind. Also, with the workshop, a lot of students maybe don't quite understand what a musical is. I have in the past asked students for musical and show choir auditions, like, oh yeah, just prepare a song that think makes you sound good. And then they come in singing like Billie Eilish, which is not the style that you necessarily want to hear in The Music Man Jr. So having a workshop first, we're like, hey, this is the style of music we're going to be doing. This is the style of dance we're going to be doing. Let's learn the chorus of this song. Let's learn this 8 count of choreography. Record it. Send it to them via, I find that we used a Schoology. It's basically their, version of Canvas. Send that out. I would record myself, not them practicing, but just myself, like, hey, here's the song snippet, practice along with this. Here's the dance snippet, practice along with this. And then you can actually see, okay, maybe some of the students that were kind of struggling to pick things up right away, maybe they went home and put in the work. It always bothered me thinking that those students would get excluded from getting cast in a show just because maybe they weren't as quick right away. But you always also want to see too which kids are going to put in the work. So before auditions even happen, when they are first announced, I think it is very helpful to have a permission slip, a stack of permission slips in your room, outside your room, in the office, with very clear expectations for students and parents. If you're able to have the rehearsal schedule ahead of time, oh, that is amazing. But at the very least, a general outline as well as the dates of the show. And in that permission slip, that's also where you can include the expectations for parent volunteering, general rules, and of course, you have contact information in case there is an emergency. Also, of course, at the audition, then students can turn in their audition form. At the end of this presentation in resources, I have a template for that, but you can also transform that template into a Google form and just have it all there online. But I do think it is helpful to have just kind of a list of, in general, their experience, their general skills, grade levels, as well as how they're doing in school, if that's something you're interested in, whatever works for you. This, unfortunately, is a huge one. What if we have little to no budget? So when you are selecting what musical you want to do, keep in mind that there is a large difference between the production cost and quality of The Phantom of the Opera and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. One of those you can do with literally $0. The other one, you cannot. It is unfortunately reality. Keep in mind-ish what your budget is, how much you're able to spend on that. But get creative. Talk to other schools, other community theaters, see what they're willing to share with you. Also, what can students provide in terms of costumes? When I did You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, I'm like, jeans, colorful t-shirt. And then we found a yellow t-shirt at Goodwill and painted the stripes on. And fundraising. There are a ton of awesome fundraising ideas out there. I am going to keep moving for time's sake. I just looked at my watch or my clock. But yeah, lots of fundraisers, partner with PTA. Where do I get a pit orchestra? School, orchestra and band. Hopefully there already is one of those at the school that exists, might be willing to just help out or even audition students straight from that. You could hire professionals if you have the budget to do so. They also usually come with a conductor, which can be handy if you do not want to personally conduct. You also, if you are so inclined to play an instrument within one of these two things, can also hop on in that way. However, if you are not able to, whether it's with budget or time or anything, do that, musical tracks, again, MTI comes with pre-recorded music tracks that you can set up on the sound system and just click go. This is a big one probably for a lot of you. What if you want to music direct, but you are not a singer? Again, use the resources from MTI. There are musical tracks, there are pre-recorded, just a cappella or at least very low-key accompaniment happening. Use those. And again, with your time at CCM, you know how to use your voice healthily. You can also delegate singing captains as the student singing captains, and of course, ask for help. Maybe you want to do all of the music directing, but none of the vocal coaching. Figure out which teacher used to be in choir. Ask them. How do I keep everything organized? Write it down. Write it down. Write it down. Google Docs, files, everything in one place, or delegate a stage manager and or personal assistant to do that for you. And communication is so key. Whatever online platform the district uses, if it does, post everything on there, everything in paper format. Parents can sign up for the Remind text app, but just constant communication so nobody can say, I didn't get that. So this is the big one. OMEA has 4 musical theater specific workshops. 2 of them are on Saturday, 10:30 and 3:30. One of which is MTI licensing. Yes, I was so happy that MTI was doing a workshop. So go to these. This first one here, how to navigate the virtual audition, that, fingers crossed, hopefully will not be a thing for much longer, but who knows? So I think just being prepared for whatever COVID throws at us, that will be super handy. We also have 2 asynchronous sessions, Dance for Stage, small screen and showcases, and engaging students with a virtual musical, both of which are asynchronous, so you can watch those whenever. Below, there's the website for Music Theater International, tips for new directors, another similar how to put on a musical, audition form templates. From Loveland High School, one of my friends sent me kind of a breakdown of their specific roles and responsibility for crew. Some of these I knew we would not have time to get into today, but they are broken down in there for you. Tools for healthy belting. We do not want to break any voices. A lot of the times, singers get really excited that they can kind of break out of that, choral singing voice. No, they can't. Learn how to healthy belt healthily, so you can teach them how to belt healthily. Also, if you find yourself with some extra time before and or after rehearsal, or just running a drama club, these drama games are so much fun. Even just among adult friends, if you just need an icebreaker or something for class, these drama games, highly recommend. They're so much fun. Also, I am so excited to serve as a resource for you guys anytime. This is my school email. This is my personal email in case, I don't know, when I get my master's, I don't know if that will go away. But I did ask Sarah Singer to email this presentation out to you. So you will have all of these links at your disposal. Thank you so much for listening to me. Stay dramatic. This is my awesome last drama club of 2020 before everything did what it did. But they are fun. They are having fun. And if you have fun, they're going to have fun too. So thank you guys. And again, if you have questions, I will check the chat now, or feel free just to unmute yourself and ask. All right. Hello. Thank you. All right. So I'm just looking at chats. So many hats. Seriously. You never know what you are going to get asked to do. And of course, you can always say no, but it is really, really fun to say yes and learn new things, even as a teacher. Oh, Miranda, I just saw your comment. Thank you. Yes, we do not need to double pitches. The workshop's a good idea. My school never had it. Oh, thank you, May. Julie. All right. Does anybody have any questions that you did not put in the chat that you'd like to throw out there? Raise your hand if you were a former theater person. Awesome. It's so much fun, y'all. It is. Life is hard, school is stressful, but finding as many spots where you can just have fun, that is so important. All right. I really appreciate all of you today for letting me present here. This is a lot of fun. So, Ellie?
Yeah. Yeah. Can everyone just give a round of applause to Jessica? Thank her for that very thorough and engaging presentation. And we are going to go into breakout rooms just for a few minutes. But before we do that, I wanted to say a few